Voiceover begins. Have you ever wondered what happens when one brave voice changes everything? Picture this: a tense boardroom, a billionaire speaks in Arabic, and only the black maid replies, silencing the room. Excuse me, Serbot. What you just said is a linguistic trap. If they sign, they'll lose control of everything. The room froze. A dozen suits turned their heads in perfect unison. Some blinked in disbelief. Others narrowed their eyes, unsure who had dared to interrupt the most powerful man in the room. At the far end of the long marble conference table sat Sheikh Hassan al-Rashid. His impeccably tailored gray suit, reflecting the soft chandelier light. His words, spoken seconds earlier in a dialect of Arabic, unfamiliar to most American ears, still hung in the air like smoke nobody had noticed until it stung. The voice had come from the sidewall, not from any of the translators or the legal team or even the row of executive assistants silently typing notes. It had come from a woman holding a silver tray of bottled water, standing straight. Her back to the wall like she trained herself to disappear. Her name tag read Maya. Maya Williams didn't flinch under the dozen startled stares. Her hand didn't shake. She gently placed the water on the nearby table, straightened her posture, and met Sheikh Hassan's gaze. Not confrontational, calm, focused, certain. He studied her. The quiet arrogance of a man used to being the smartest in the room faltered for a second. Only a second? You speak Arabic? He asked, switching to English now, his tone sharp but composed. Maya responded in Arabic, the same dialect he had just used. And I understand the difference between intention and manipulation. Your Excellency, someone gasped. A white-haired partner from Landstone Holdings leaned back in his leather chair, flustered. Is she even on the staff? She's a server, someone whispered. Danielle ignored them. Her eyes remained on the sheikh. What you just said, will leave the option open for adjustment based on local compliance, was interpreted as benign, but the way you phrased it implies you can override any decision retroactively. That's not a safety clause. It's an override clause. The translator beside Sheikh Hassan looked down at his notes, visibly sweating. Do you have legal training? The sheikh asked. I have a master's degree in international finance, she replied, still in Arabic. And I worked 3 years for an investment board in Abu Dhabi before returning to care for my mother. The sheikh's eyes hardened. You interrupt my statement in front of my counterparts, then accused me of deception. This is disrespectful. Maya's lips tightened, but she stood firm. I meant no disrespect, sir. Only clarity. You are not part of this negotiation. You are a maid, he said coldly. Security should escort her out. Maya felt heat surge up her neck. Across the table, someone muttered, let her speak. She might be right. Another voice, Robert Malloy from Landstone, intervened with cautious diplomacy. Your Excellency, perhaps we should clarify the clause before proceeding for everyone's confidence. The sheikh didn't respond immediately. His gaze bore into Maya. Then with a wave of his hand, he dismissed the idea of removing her. But he did not apologize. You worked in Abu Dhabi? He asked. Yes, where? The National Sovereign Fund, Internal Risk Review Division? The sheikh tilted his head. You're not just a maid. No, Maya said quietly. But that's what pays the bills right now. He didn't smile, but he nodded once, then turned to his translator. How long have you known she was right? The man froze. I thought, leave, Hassan said. The translator hurried out, briefcase flapping. Maya stood still, unsure what to do now. She could feel her heart pounding, the heat rising in her neck. Was she about to be thanked or fired? The sheikh turned to Malloy. This meeting is over. We will reconvene when your team has someone capable of understanding the documents. But we tomorrow noon. He stood. Maya quietly exited, walking down the long echoing corridor toward the staff elevator. She passed a few junior analysts, all too stunned to look her in the eye. As the elevator doors closed behind her, her shoulders finally sagged. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time in years, she hadn't let herself disappear, and someone important had listened. Maya stepped out into the back hallway of the Empire Grand Hotel, the heavy door closing behind her with a thud that echoed like final judgment. She walked quickly, not stopping until she reached the service elevator. As the numbers lit up one by one, descending from the top floor, her hands trembled. She clenched them into fists and forced herself to breathe deeply. One breath in, one breath out. She had just challenged one of the wealthiest men in the world in front of a dozen powerful executives. And now she was standing next to a mop bucket. The elevator opened. Inside stood Carmen, one of the housekeepers. Her eyes widened when she saw Maya. "Girl, what did you do up there? Half the kitchen's buzzing." Maya gave a tight smile. "I might have said a little too much." Carmen tilted her head. "Too much or just enough?" "I don't know yet," Maya said as the elevator descended. "Maybe both." They rode in silence for a moment. Then Carmen touched her arm gently. "You did what you had to. You looked out for them even if they didn't know they needed it." Maya nodded. She wanted to believe that, but reality was more complicated. When she got back to the employee locker room, her supervisor, Mr. Jenkins, was waiting. He looked like he'd been sweating bullets for 20 minutes. "You're on thin ice," he said without even a greeting. "I've already got 3 calls from upper management." "I wasn't trying to cause trouble," Maya said. "I overheard something dangerous. I spoke up." "You spoke out of turn." "That was a multi-billion-dollar meeting," he paced. "You embarrassed them. You embarrassed this hotel." "No," Mia said, voice calm. "I protected them from signing away their rights." He paused. "Be that as it may, Maya. You can't just," a new voice interrupted. "She stays." Both of them turned. Standing in the doorway was Veronica Ellison, the hotel's general manager. Tall with silver-streaked hair and a commanding presence. She was rarely seen outside her corner office. Now she stepped into the room like a judge descending into court. "Miss Williams showed more insight in 5 minutes than some lawyers do in 5 months, Veronica continued. "She'll not be punished for that." Mr. Jenkins sputtered but didn't argue. Veronica looked at Maya. "You're off floor duties for the rest of the day. Come to my office at 3. Mia nodded slowly, stunned. Veronica walked away without another word. At 2:55, Maya stood outside the office on the 31st floor, her palms slick with sweat. She smoothed down her uniform, suddenly aware of the faded stitching on the collar. When Veronica opened the door, Maya stepped inside cautiously. The room was minimalist but elegant with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the Hudson. Framed awards lined the wall. A single photo on the desk showed Veronica shaking hands with President Carter decades ago. "Sit," she said. Maya obeyed. Veronica studied her. "You worked in Abu Dhabi?" "Yes, ma'am." "Why did you leave?" "My mother got sick. I came back to help. Then after she passed, well, the gap on my resume scared people. They stopped seeing my degrees. Just saw my skin, my name." Veronica nodded. "That's the world. But today, you made the right people notice." Maya said nothing. "I looked you up," Veronica said, tapping her keyboard. "National Sovereign Fund, 3 years, oversaw risk compliance for contracts over $100 million. Yes. You could have walked away today. Let them sign. Let them fall." Maya looked down. "I couldn't. I knew what that clause meant." Veronica leaned back. "You want back in?" Maya blinked. "Back in the real world, the table. You've still got the mind, the spine. What you lack is opportunity. Let's change that." Maya sat back, stunned. I don't know. I haven't touched a legal document in years." "That didn't stop you from saving a deal." Veronica stood and handed her a thick binder. This is the draft sustainability. Maya acknowledged this. Now, let's address compliance issues observed this quarter. A compliance auditor stood. We flagged 5 contracts containing ambiguous clauses resembling override language. 4 have been resolved via clarification. 1 remains pending review with Regional Council. Maya traced her pen sharply. Which contract? A Southeast Asian logistics deal, he said. It still contains a clause allowing retroactive adjustment based on operational exigencies. Heads turned. Maya's heart thudded. This was the moment they'd warned about, charter under pressure where opacity returned. May I, she said and walked to the screen. Pulling the draft up, she read aloud. Should operational exigencies arise, the provider will evaluate and adjust the agreement unilaterally. She stopped. That's override by another name. A Gulf Council interjected quietly, but operational exigencies exist. Yes, Maya agreed. But not without mutual review. We need a revision. Specify triggers. Define mutual deliberation. Set sunset clauses. A debate followed. Attorneys worried legal complexity. Regional teams cited local regulations. Maya listened, then addressed them all. We drafted this charter to uphold integrity without clarity. Regulations become loopholes. Silence. Then the Gulf partner spoke. I propose a pilot amendment. Adjust this clause to include explicit approval from both regional oversight and local community council. Let's monitor its effect. Maya nodded. Agreed. And we'll review the results next quarter. The meeting closed with votes taken, smiles shared, and a sense of cautious accomplishment. That evening, Nia returned to Brooklyn to a community fundraiser for a new water study in Minnesota. Veronica was there greeting attendees. Maya spotted a tribal elder she'd met in Minneapolis. It was their 3rd initiative together. They embraced. The elder whispered, "The well is clean now. Children drink." They laughed again. Nia's eyes filled. That's your work. We did it together, the elder replied. Maya looked around the hall. Volunteers, fiscal analysts, smiling families. Integrity wasn't just on paper. It was echoing across towns, schools, nations. Back home, Maya prepared for a late-night call. It was Elijah Rowe, whose retired life had resumed, but whose influence was far from gone. They're using your model in 2 African solar bids, he said proudly. Transparency measures baked into contracts. It spread, Maya. She paused. We've crossed a line where trust became transactional. He laughed. You turned your echo into a wave. Maya smiled. Her father's compass and her brass token sat together on her desk, symbols of direction and integrity. She looked out at the city where lights shimmered like promises. This wasn't just a campaign. It was a movement. A movement that had begun when a maid spoke up and now carried across oceans. A low spring rain drizzled over Manhattan as Maya Williams stepped off the elevator and entered the lean, high-ceiling boardroom. Today's meeting agenda was unexpectedly brief. She had called it herself. The board's newest directive hung in the air, piloting an integrity council model for other firms and nonprofits. Nia's heart pounded, knowing this marked a new phase. Veronica arrived moments later and gave Maya a reassuring nod. The room filled quickly with partners, compliance officers, and 2 external consultants from major foundations. Maya opened with a calm breath. Thank you all for joining on short notice. We stand at a juncture not just of ethics within our organization but at a point to demonstrate leadership across our industry. She clicked to the first slide. Phase 1, confidential rollout within sister firms. The slide displayed a simple plan of pilot councils embedded in Al Rashid's regional offices across Asia and Africa. Below bullet points read shared reporting platform, community engagement metrics, and annual transparency awards. Veronica followed. We've already seeded the pilot in Nairobi and Singapore. Initial results show a 40% decrease in contract disputes and increased local hiring. Murmurs rose around the table. Maya clicked again. Phase 2, External Partnerships. We will invite 2 major foundations to adopt our model in their grant partner agreements. We've drafted letters to the Gates Foundation and Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. One Gulf partner raised a hand. Our board must see financial projections for this expansion. What's the ROI, or do we treat it as expense? Maya responded, the return isn't immediate revenue. It's reputational capital, mitigated risk, and long-term partnership leverage. We estimate a 15% increase in investor confidence calculated through reduced due diligence costs and enhanced credit ratings. A senior financial officer leaned forward. That's compelling, but how do we measure it? Maya smiled. We track discount spreads on green bonds, investor survey scores, and secondary market performance for projects under the Integrity Council versus controls. Phase 3, Maya explained, involves publicly publishing a yearly integrity impact report benchmarked across projects, a move both bold and transparent. Another consultant asked, what if this reveals failures or non-compliance? Veronica answered firmly, because it will, and that's the point. Maya added, we will highlight success, but also areas for improvement. Openness breeds trust beyond perfection. There was a pause as the room absorbed the implications. Operating on this scale meant vulnerability, but an executive from Dubai spoke next. I support this. If we truly stand for integrity, we own both our light and our shadows. Heads nodded. The board accepted the pilot unanimously. After the meeting, supporters clustered around Maya and Veronica, offering congratulations and handshakes, but the pivot felt bigger than applause. It was purposeful. Later that evening, Maya attended a private reception at the Metropolitan Museum's Modern Wing, where Al Rashid was unveiling a new art sponsorship. Among the guests were NGO leaders, Gulf dignitaries, and foundation representatives. Maya spotted the Gates Foundation lead, Dr. Elena Torres, chatting near a sculpture on ethics. Taking a breath, Maya approached, Dr. Torres, thank you for coming. Her voice softened under soft gallery lighting. Dr. Torres turned. Miss Williams, I've heard remarkable things. Maya smiled. I wanted to invite you to review our Integrity Council model. Your insight would be invaluable. The foundation director nodded. Send me the proposal. I believe there's real potential here. Maya exhaled quietly. This moment symbolized tangible growth beyond her organization, a bridge into broader impact. That night, Maya and Veronica met quietly on the rooftop of the hotel sponsoring the gala. Rain had ceased. City lights danced across wet streets. You did it, Veronica said, handing Maya a warm drink. We did, Maya corrected. She gestured to the skyline. Look how far this can go. Veronica sipped slowly. I'd like to see this model go global with you leading. Maya paused, then nodded. Let's build that road map. As midnight approached, Maya reflected on how this pivot echoed her first act, interrupting a meeting with bold truth. That act alerted a world ready for integrity. She thought of her father's compass and Elijah's ledger, of children sipping cleaner water and communities empowered, and she understood. If speaking up began it, this pivot made it legacy. Her phone buzzed. A message from Amal. Integrity Council invitation went out internationally. Responses already coming. Maya closed her eyes, breathing deep. Rain had washed the city calm, but tomorrow that calm bore an undercurrent of change. A pivot that started here could now recalibrate systems. Tonight, Maya Williams stood at another threshold. Not just within a corporation, but the turning point of what integrity could mean. And this time, she wasn't just the voice, she was the architect. Maya arrived at the Sheikh Suite at precisely 9 a.m. The early light glinted off the polished marble floors of Al Rashid Capital's top floor, marking this day as different, more consequential, more final. She carried a slim tablet loaded with the complete dossier. Legacy holdings ledgers, diverted EJI funds, shell company links, transcripts of incriminating emails, and Elijah Rose's sworn affidavit. Today, she would guide the sheikh through the full truth. Today, she would guide the sheikh through the full truth. As she entered, Sheikh Hassan looked up from his desk. He nodded once, a gesture of both greeting and gravity. He'd arranged this to be private, no witnesses. No fanfare, just truth spoken plainly as a test of their resolve. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. Maya set the tablet on the desk and tapped the screen. "Yesterday, we presented the public summary. Now the full disclosure." She began with the transaction chains, line by line, date by date, explaining payments routed through Delaware, Singapore, Cayman, Nevada, always diverted from approved community projects. The sheikh traced his fingertip over a digital flowchart, his expression unreadable. She spoke with care, clarity, and compassion, aware this moment would define more than a contract. It would define trust. Moving on to email evidence, Maya narrated each exchange in calm English, pausing when Sheikh looked away, allowing the weight of betrayal to land. She emphasized the roles of Philip Warren, Harold Coington, and other unnamed complicit executives. These memos aren't allegations. They are confessions. The sheikh leaned back, absorbing. His gaze went distant, perhaps lost in memory of the communities betrayed. When she reached Elijah's affidavit, she tapped the quote. "I kept copies because the work mattered more than the firm." The sheikh closed his eyes as though absorbing the moral weight. Maya paused. His silence said enough. Finally, she offered the tablet. "I invite your questions. Our next step is yours." He looked up. His face was inscrutable. "You've given me my sight back," he said softly. "I was blind, trusted structure more than people." He closed the tablet gently. "Your disclosure is full and your courage clear." Maya watched his eyes. "What happens now?" He rose and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city. Rain clouds gathered. He folded his hands behind his back. "We repair. We pay restitution. We restructure. We rebuild trust not only here but in every place we impact." He turned. "I want you leading oversight with full authority and final say on project disbursements." He extended his hand. "Will you do that?" Maya paused. Thought spinning, community voices, boardroom battles, late nights tracing funds, her father's compass. She took his hand. "Yes." He nodded firmly. "Then together, we'll make this company something worthy of the name it holds." Back in her Brooklyn apartment that night, Maya held the tablet close. The road ahead would test her, defining new standards, ensuring restitution, confronting resistance. But tonight she allowed herself a moment of reflection. Her father's compass and brass token by her side, symbols of direction and integrity. She thought of Elijah Rose's quiet bravery. Of tribal elders who trusted her, of Veronica who believed, of every child whose water might now be safe, of justice lived, not just spoken. She realized the disclosure didn't end the journey. It began a deeper one. The city lights shimmered through her window. Somewhere beyond skyscrapers and streets, systems that had been built on convenience and compromise would now feel tremors of change. Maya closed her eyes, remembering her father's words. "Justice doesn't sleep, it wakes us," she whispered into the still night. "Then let it be awake, and tomorrow it would begin again." Sunlight filtered through the frosted glass door of Maya's new office, labeled in brass letters, "Maya Williams, Global Ethics Advisor." It was a quiet, dignified space overlooking the East River, lined with shelves holding binders, artifacts from community engagements. And atop her desk, the brass token and her father's compass. That nameplate didn't just mark her office. It marked progress. She stepped in on her first official day, greeted by Amal and Angelina, who had arrived early. "Looking good," Angelina said with a half smile. Amal handed her a large manila envelope. The deployment schedule for the Integrity Council pilots across 3 continents, Latin America, Eastern Europe, and Southeast Asia. "It's happening," Amal said softly. They sat at the round table. Veronica, already there, had coffee ready. "Congratulations," she said. "So, where do we start?" Maya took a breath. We follow the roadmap from our pilot hand. We refine it for global complexity. We'll conduct ethics workshops in Mexico City next week, then gap assessments in Romania and community roundtables in Bangkok. Veronica nodded. Board wants your full report in 60 days. Maya turned to Amal. We also need local auditors and cultural consultants in each region. Amal agreed. We've identified partners. She gestured to Angelina. Angelina's compiling baseline data now. Maya pressed send on the envelope. Today we begin building a global nameplate not just for me but for every community we serve. That afternoon Maya visited the hotel lobby plaque. A quiet moment of reflection. She ran her fingertips gently over the engraved words. Staff passed her offering polite nods. In one glance she felt the full weight of what she'd earned and the responsibilities that lay ahead. 2 days later Maya presented to a board call with international partners watching via video link. She wore a sleek navy suit, professional yet warm. The digital slides displayed new progress, draft charters, recruitment of advisors, and a pilot summary from Latin America. A Sao Paulo representative smiled through the screen. Our regional advisory board is ready to review. We've added indigenous leaders and local NGOs. A Romanian consultant echoed. Our compliance review began today. Training materials look solid. In Bangkok, a young woman spoke about tribal participation in project oversight. Communities feel heard, she said. Maya nodded, feeling emboldened. This is progress, but we need to share among regions, replicate best practices without imposing, learning from one another. Questions rose on currency fluctuations, data privacy, legal jurisdictions. Mia and her team answered with clarity, and each response strengthened the network.